So I played the extremely drearily titled Directive 8020, the new game by Supermassive, creators of The Quarry and the Dark Pictures anthology. In other news, I'm going to give it 5 more minutes before I decide if I'm going to take my hand off this hot stove. But you know what, awful title aside, Directive 8020 does show a bit of improvement, and in other news, the hot stove doesn't hurt quite as much as it used to, although thinking about it, that could be nerve damage. Seriously though, I keep coming back because I figure either Supermassive will eventually get better with practice at making their idiosyncratic branching path narrative disappointing choose-your-own-adventure book games, or I'll have another lovely horribly written game to get good and worked up about, and I can tell my doctor I got my cardio in this week, so win-win. Directive 8020 is a new installment of the Dark Pictures anthology, although apparently nobody told the Steam page that. I didn't notice a single reference to Dark Pictures anywhere in the copy until I actually started the game, and a Dark Pictures logo faded in as if to say, tee fooled you! What's the matter, Supermassive Games? Is Dark Pictures not becoming the hot instant sell household name you were hoping for? No, of course not. New audiences would say, I won't play that, I haven't caught up with the previous episodes, and old audiences would say, I won't play that, it's probably shit. Whatever, I called in my Man of Medan review that the Dark Picture series was never in a million years going to get to the promised 8 episodes, so I'm taking this as a partial win. Directive 90210 is Supermassive's take on the classic hard sci-fi alien stroke The Thing premise, that is to say, an awfully generic version of it. Number of astronauts stumble upon Thing in deep space, turns out Thing has a Narcon, story ends with significantly smaller number of astronauts, and hasn't this been a fucking theme lately? Pragmata, Saros, Aphelion, when are these astronauts going to learn to just leave a sorry we missed you card on the evil alien planet and bugger off home? Our story opens focusing on 2 technicians tasked with looking after the rest of the crew while they're in hypersleep for a 4-year journey, and immediately we see exactly how much Supermassive's writing has improved, because these dudes who've been alone together for 4 years in tight quarters are still having to explain their fucking personalities to each other. I'm determined to focus on the importance of our mission and the future of humanity. No. What up, shithead? Suck my dick, fuckface. That's how they'd be communicating at that point. Anyway, long prologue short, an evil alien fungus thing gets on board and possesses the one you're not controlling, which was obvious to me, so I took the branching path option that led to my dude running away, rather than the one that led to him getting a wrench to the face, but how that looked in context was that Homeslice ran away in panting mortal terror because his co-worker looked at him weird. After that, the rest of the crew were woken up for their mission, noticed the technicians behaving oddly, and events slowly spiral into paranoia, infighting, desperate survival, and dodgy facial animation. The story is presented with the typical awkwardness of Supermassive interactive movies, with only a generous 30 to 50% of the cast actually knowing how to act for shit, and they still come across weird and stilted because of all the obvious cut points between lines. And I saw multiple scenes where a character walks into a room, wordlessly does the thing they need to do there, then walks out again, because some choice I made earlier removed the interesting thing that was supposed to happen, or I'd killed off the character who was supposed to have a line there, criticising the other character's doing a thing technique. Before long it becomes clear to both us and the cast that the alien fungus is doing the thing from The Thing and creating evil clones of the humans to infiltrate their ranks and spread paranoia and discord. The player character is repeatedly forced to choose which of 2 copies to trust, and you can never be sure which one is real. Unless you're the kind of investigative genius who notices things like inconsistent stories, altered speech patterns, and the big fat achievement that popped at one point, reading, "Congratulations, you made it to Act 6 without falling for a single imposter." Well, so much for fucking suspense, eh, game? You can also spoil yourself quite easily by examining the timeline menu too closely, because you can look at the icon for the locked alternate path, and it'll say, unlock this path by being a big dum-dum and trusting an imposter, like you didn't do the first time around. But I don't want to keep harping on all the problems that one could argue are inherent to the format, because what the hell do I expect Supermassive to do about that? Not make choose-your-own-adventure book games? At this point, that's like asking my dog to stop licking his bum. Completely futile. These days, I consider myself lucky if he just doesn't do it directly behind my head while I'm streaming with the webcam on. So let's focus on what we absolutely can't blame on awkwardly edited, stitched-together timelines, such as still lacking the ability to fucking skip cutscenes. There are so many areas you could stand to improve in Supermassive, but this one is the fucking gimme. It would be so easy. You can't expect players to want to go back and try every path to get the 100% completion rating, and expect them to never get bored of watching these twats wibble-face their way through the same lines over and over again. On that subject, and the subject of things that are slightly less easy to fix, the writing still sucks overpriced food out of the stomach cavity of a beloved recently deceased pet. Hey, the ship's interior is packed with an evil alien fungus that keeps creating murderous mimics of us that can pop up literally anywhere if we take our eyes off each other even for a second. Right, now that's established, let's split up and all go off alone for the 19th fucking time. And you're no better, evil alien fungus. Ooh, look at me, I can create perfect copies of my prey and even convincingly talk to them in their own language, and have almost successfully fooled them on multiple occasions. But I'm bored of doing that now, so I'll just create a bunch of mindless, animalistic, gribbly monsters for the last few acts. Sorry, I've just remembered way back in the mists of time I was planning to praise this game at some point. Well, it improves upon Supermassive's record in the following areas. The cast are all grown-up professionals, rather than hateful, snarky teenagers. The enclosed spaceship setting works a lot better with the usual "and then there were none" storyline, and gives a coherent, consistent environment we can watch evolve over time as the alien fills more and more of it with wibbly-wobbly purple badness goo. And this reduces the usual Supermassive problem with being confused about the geography of every scene and where every character is supposed to be from shot to shot, to a mere 60 to 70% of the runtime. And there's a greater commitment to moderately involved, honest-to-goodness gameplay. say besides the fucking QuickTime events, usually admittedly in the form of fucking mandatory stealth sections, but I'll take it at this point. So hey, for whatever it's worth, I enjoyed Directive 8675309 more than I did the fucking Quarry, at least. There's hope for you yet, Supermassive Games. All you have to do now is replace all your story writers, and most of your gameplay writers, and some of your artists, and call yourself something different as well. I didn't say it was a lot of hope.